Welcome to TM470, the Computing and IT Project. I'm Peter Thompson. TM470 is the capstone project, and there's a lot of resource material available for students to use. It's important that you get started straight away on studying and developing your project. The most important thing I've got to say is it's unlike any other module that you've studied, so don't be surprised to find that it is different. Think of it as one long end of module assessment. You cannot simply do the TMAs and hope to pass at the end. The TMAs are stages on the way. They are reports on your progress. Think of TM470 as one long end of module assessment with feedback from your tutor at TMA01, TMA02 and TMA03 to help keep your project on track. Level 1 modules provided you with detailed content to study, teach you how to develop both knowledge and skills, may include a little research for other materials. Level 2 modules provide more complex content and processes, but also show you how to research and use other sources for both knowledge and skills. They show you how to evaluate, reference, and apply them. You have to do some of your own research to fill the gaps. Level 3 modules provide more detailed content and processes. They also expect you to apply the knowledge and skills from levels 1 and 2 and to research and use other sources. You should be developing your skills at evaluating, referencing and applying all these sources of knowledge and skills. You are expected to explore around the topics, fill gaps and critically review the concepts presented to you. TM470 takes this further. It's demonstrating your ability to use all the knowledge and skills you've gained so far. You're expected to be able to apply all the knowledge and skills that you've studied and developed at levels 1, 2 and 3. The TM470 study materials provide a framework of the essential requirements for doing your TMA 470 project. They do not include the ICT content that you need. You are now expected to show that you can research, evaluate and apply all the knowledge and skills you need for your chosen topic. TM470 is about working independently. Your project course is a demonstration that you are able to work independently to guide your own learning, literature, research, planning and development. A lot of this depends on your ability to motivate yourself and to plan how to organize your time and to make the best use of your time. In the initial stages of your project, you will need to research and study how to plan your project and how to plan your time. TM470 is about learning how to solve a problem in ICT. Problem that you identify, you will analyze this problem, research and develop a solution. It should have a clear focus on ICT concepts and learning outcomes from your Level 3 modules, supported by Level 2 modules. And it should be a core aspect of your degree pathway. Your TM470 tutors are mentors who can guide you through the project process. The content of the project is down to your own research and your ability. It's up to you to explain your proposals and progress in a way that ensures that your tutor and the examiners and the external examiner are all fully informed. Keep in touch with your tutor at regular intervals throughout the project period. TM470 project isn't an end product, it is a process. If you've spent 10 hours a week in purposeful and well-focused study, kept a detailed diary of your progress and reflection, modified your study to take this into account, engaged with your tutor, and written up and explained the key points of your study at each stage for TMAs and the EMA, then you should end with a good grade. If you remain out of contact but present a working application or PhD research paper at the end, but with no discussion of how you arrived there, you will fail the module. We don't want you to follow a template. We want you to demonstrate that you can plan and follow your own path. It is possible to make a very good project or a very bad project from almost all the project ideas discussed the initial TM470 forum. The process of review and reflection is a very important aspect. It's what you learn that will help you in the future. The best strategy is to continuously evaluate your goals in the light of your research, development and progress, and to modify your goals to achieve a suitable outcome. At one extreme, this might be abandoning a project where research has shown that the initial premise was false and further development pointless, and starting with a new idea. At another extreme, what initially seemed a complex idea becomes quite trivial, and there is room for a lot of extra further development. Both offer a lot of scope for reflection on the process of doing a project. Such changes that you may make are an important part of the learning process and part of your final report. So, now on to part 2, getting started. Read all the content of the module website, and by all, I mean everything, not just the introduction or the first assignment. You need to read it all so that you know what you will be submitting as your completed project and everything that will contribute to that. This is the first test of your ability to do the project course. And start a journal, project log or diary in which you record all your thoughts, activities, references, use of your time and so on related to your project. So if we look at the project website, the resources section brings most of these aspects together. We've got an accessibility guide for those who have extra requirements for these material, an overview of the course, and a lot of study materials. So you won't know how to make use of them or when you need them unless you've read through them first. So study guide, and if you want to use it offline, view it as a single page and then save as website complete, and that will save this onto your own computer. There are guides to choosing a project, choosing the life cycle model, and several podcasts that you can also listen to. So there's a lot of materials here, don't overlook it. Now you do need to focus on the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes are set out in section 7 of the TMA of the TM470 study guide. Each TMA sets out the learning outcomes being assessed for that TMA. As you think about potential projects, ask yourself whether or not your project will help you meet those learning outcomes. If you've got previous experience of keeping a project log or diary, that may help you here. Otherwise, you've got to learn the routine of keeping everything recorded. Many of you will be developing a portfolio that could be used in job applications, and your project log here is going to help you with that. If you've got recommendations for software for keeping a project log, then join the discussion in the forums. Planning is the key. You will have to plan your study for the full course very carefully from the start, and the only way of doing that is to know all the details of what the project module requires. What are the time commitments that you have for the year ahead? Work, family, holiday, exercise, DIY, other study, what else? How do you plan to organize your time for developing your TM470 project for the year ahead? Establish a pattern of working now to make sure you get enough done. And do check that you've got at least 10 hours a week for the duration of the project course. You need to identify and evaluate your own knowledge and skills that you bring to TM470 and be as accurate as you can. Don't hype yourself, but don't put yourself down either. Identify the skills or knowledge that you lack that may be essential for your project development. Identify the access to data and to people that you may need for project development. How will you ensure the security of all your project development work? You don't want to do it all and then lose it. So how will you protect your computer? How will you back up all your project development material? How would you recover from a complete computer failure, including loss of hard drives, or a ransomware attack, or failure of other storage media? And how would you roll back on software development? Security, what you do now and what do you plan to do? You can discuss these aspects in the student forums for the module. If these are new concepts to you, consider looking through the free course on FutureLearn Introduction to Cybersecurity, which is running at the moment. Project selection. Projects don't appear fully formed. They need to evolve with thought and reflection. The best project ideas often involve solving a problem where you have first-hand experience. Projects that simply collect information equals certain failure. Projects like all I can find out about won't do. In these COVID times, projects should not involve any face-to-face contact outside your existing home or work daily contacts. Project focus should be clear on ICT concepts and learning outcomes from your Level 3 modules, supported by Level 2 modules. It should have a focus in the real world today or in the immediate future and not historical. Focus on the world around you that you know. Think of examples in your everyday life where you have experienced paper-based solutions or unwieldy systems in dire need of updating. You should have a good knowledge of the scenario within which your problem is set. Don't try and explore new technology in a context you don't understand. The technology part will be hard enough. Don't add a context that's new to you as well. Project endpoints. A project needs a clear endpoint. How will you know when you've achieved that endpoint? Endpoints should be written into your project proposal from the start. Clear endpoints help you keep your project development focused and on track. And don't just start with a single idea. Evaluate 3 most plausible ideas in greater depth. The first idea might not be the best. Evaluate your ideas with care against all the module literature. Evaluate each idea against the criteria for the course, and check the idea against your degree pathway. Which idea seems to have the best chance of success? Email the 3 most promising ideas to your tutor for discussion, and include a copy and paste of all discussion from your project from the preparation forum. Think ahead to your future. Your project submission can form the most important part of your job application portfolio. This can be more important than your degree certificate for job applications. Evaluate how your project ideas might appear as part of your portfolio. And a reminder, have you started your project log and diary? You need to record your thoughts about planning your project, the research you've done so far, the evidence you've obtained, your evaluation of the evidence, and the decisions you've made. Later you will be evaluating those decisions and evaluating how you could make better decisions in the future. Now let us look at how a project proposal might develop. This is not a template, it's simply an example for discussion. You can discuss this example in our student forums or by attending a tutorial. I have 3 proposals for discussion from a student. And the first question I want to know is, how does the proposal fit within the degree pathway? And in this case, the student is doing the BSc Honours in Computing and IT with the Web Development focus, and all proposals are central to this focus. You need to inform your tutor on what you've studied in previous modules. At level 2, this student has done algorithms, data structures and computability, managing IT, the why, the what and the how, object-oriented Java programming and web technologies. They comment they much preferred Python to Java and replicated most exercises in Python for M269, M250 and some of TT284. And they've explored JavaScript further than covered in TT284. At level 3, they've studied interaction design and the user experience, web, mobile and cloud technologies, data management and analysis. And again, they've been doing exercises in Python for all 3 modules and also developed their skill with JavaScript a little further. You need to report what other skills you have, and in this example the student has worked through several free MOOCs on Python and data handling to develop their Python skills. They probably know more about HTML and CSS than was covered in TT284, and they are developing their own website. They've also set up an RPi as a home-based web server and use an ISP that gives them a static IP address. They've registered a co.uk domain that points to this address. They've set up Nginx as a web server and are familiar with CherryPy as a Python 3 server to run Python 3 code. This is all looking very appropriate for a project based on developing something for the internet. They've already got a good list of sources for most aspects of Python 3, HTML, JavaScript, CSS and databases. Good. Weakness and problems they've identified. They struggle with the maths of encryption. I think a lot of us do, but I can use code from code libraries. Probably many aspects of Python programming that I'm not aware of. Difficult to know what I don't know. Yes, that's probably true for many of us. How much time I'll have over the coming year is very uncertain. I don't know how much I will be doing for work or even if I will have any jobs. I will need to keep the project moving forward when I have the time. So, proposal A. I work from home and usually have a number of work tasks running at the same time. I take a lot of photographs and video and also record GPS tracks of where these photos were taken. Each task needs its own records of what I've tried, achieved and outcomes. Photos need keywords, evaluation, updated comments when they're used to cross-reference with tasks. Future tasks need to be planned and entered into a diary. Some of the content of my tasks is confidential and should be encrypted when not in use. Everything I record needs to be backed up on a daily basis, perhaps even recording changes on an hourly basis. It's important that each backup doesn't overwrite the previous backup. The project would deliver a Python application that automatically adds images and GPS tracks, generates maps and records tasks by topic to the daily record and stores the data in an encrypted database. That all seems quite well thought out. Proposal B. I also have an extensive website and from time to time old content needs editing and updating as well as writing and adding new content. Some of the content includes images and GPS tracks as described in the previous project idea. Writing new content using an HTML editor, insertion of images. Automatic generation of maps from GPS tracks, automatic generation of menus. Should I be writing my own code for a content management system or would an existing content management system be suitable? Yes, a good question there. The application would create the complete set of web pages from the text, maps from GPS tracks and images selected. Yes, I don't know if content management systems any of them already do the GPS tracks bit, but certainly there are systems available. Proposal C, I have an electric car and use the Octopus Energy Agile tariff. Prices change every half hour. Right. I need an app that can recommend the charge schedule each day based on the half-hour electricity prices for the day ahead and my travel plans for the day ahead. Project would deliver a working app for Android mobile or a working website. I wonder if there's any apps that do that already. Not sure about that one. How would you evaluate each of these proposals? And you could do this in the forums. What are the strengths and weaknesses of each proposal? Are the project proposals well matched to the students' knowledge and abilities? Are the project proposals based on extending level 3 modules? I think we need more detail there. Are the project proposals within the student's degree pathway? Probably true. Where might you anticipate risks of the project not developing as expected? When you think about a project proposal, you need to think how well will it support the different aspects. So a systematic understanding of the fundamental technical concepts and principles relevant to your project. First two proposals probably would, I think. The last project, I think, a bit thin. Cognitive skills, able to develop and demonstrate the ability to identify and refine the goals and content of your project, identify, list and justify the resources, skills, activities needed to carry out the project successfully, identify and address any associated risks. Gather and analyze, evaluate relevant information to complete the project successfully, and then critically review how you've tackled the project. I'm starting to think that the first project proposal, proposal A, is the one that's most likely to provide all those aspects. Continuing then, demonstrate the ability to make effective use of a variety of information sources, including the internet, demonstrating awareness of the credibility of the source, communicate information, ideas, problems and solutions clearly, learn independently and reflect on what has been done with a view to improving your skills and knowledge. Again, Project A is looking like the one that provides the most opportunity. Professional and practical skills, able to develop and demonstrate your ability to plan and organize your project work appropriately, keep systematic records of plans, progress and outcomes, identify and address the legal, social, ethical and professional issues that may arise during the development and use of computing and IT systems. Analyze a practical problem and devise and implement a solution, building on the knowledge and skills developed throughout your earlier OU studies and experience. My evaluation of these three project proposals, they're all demonstrating a good approach to using Python by already extending their knowledge of Python and being aware of how Python-based web applications can work by using a Python server. Having the CherryPy server up and running is a good start. So they're not proposing to spend their time learning a new programming language. They've already completed their level 2 and other level 3 modules, and all proposals are firmly based on extending level 3 studies supported by level 2 studies. So we're off to a good start here. Proposal A has plenty of scope for a good project. I think it could be developed as a core application to which other modules could be added if time allows. It's likely to be developed as a typical web app with a database, server-side scripts, HTML5, CSS3 and JavaScript. Needs some form of HTML editor using JavaScript, but there are some good JavaScript packages available. I would discourage a student from writing their own HTML editor. There's simply no need. The question is, does the student have the skills to scope out a complex project like this? So need to keep an eye on that aspect. Proposal B, if the student were to focus too much on evaluating and using an existing web development framework, it might become a learning to use a new software package type project. These are discouraged. They don't usually turn out well. There are other aspects of Project B that suggest to me that they might be better developed as an extension of Project A. If you're recording the information initially in Project A, then you don't want to be entering it again in Project B. So really Project A is the one to start with. I'd also want to see more detail of why the student thinks it might be better to write their own web development application rather than using an existing one. The proposal's a bit thin on that aspect. Proposal C, I would be concerned that this proposal might be too limited in scope. The core, I would guess, is being a simple collect data from Octopus Energy, calculate how many kilowatt hours are needed, calculate the block of time where cost is the minimum. Relatively very simple programming task. Wrapping it up in an app gives a bit more scope. It could even be a saleable app, but I'm not sure that there's enough variety there to make it straightforward to produce all the different aspects of TM470 project. Other points to keep in mind: select project ideas that interest you. You will be putting a lot of effort into them. Ensure you have access to the core resources before you start. Ensure you have access to core literature, and be realistic about what you can achieve in the time available. And then get started developing your project ideas as soon as possible. And do contact your tutor with your ideas before deciding on a single project focus. I will be following this up with a second tutorial that looks at the initial stages of project development, but it's getting in contact with your tutor with your 3 best ideas that's critical, and it needs to be done as soon as you can. That's the end of this tutorial. Thank you for watching and listening.